Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I hope that little dose of mania got you a little more energetic. I had dinner at Gordeau's last night, and I'm regretting it just a little bit. So pardon me if I'm a little until this morning. But it's mostly Alex's show here, so.
Hello.
Anyways, we are
I'm very tired.
We are one half of Southern Hospitality Cosplay. I am Dimaru.
I am Derek Litzkrieg.
And this is Distressing Cosplay! Hooray! That's about the applause I expect at 10 a.m. on Saturday.
It's fine.
It's fine.
I love that picture.
That is a really good picture. Now, before we begin, how many people are familiar with what this panel is about?
Okay, there's a couple of you.
How many people have an idea of what this panel is about?
Okay, there's a few of you.
So, just to be clear, we mean distressing as in altering costumes.
Making them look aged, weathered, and worn.
Not distressing as in
These are
what
upsetting
cosplay
and
is
they
anyways.
Not distressing like con crunches.
So this is definitely a pun that will hopefully give you guys a basic overview of the process of costume distressing, weathering, etc. A bit about the person who put this panel together. We already said his name. This is Dirk Litzkrieg. I'm going to brag about him for a bit. Nearly 20 years costuming experience.
I'm old.
Graduate cum laude as Dean's Honor Graduate with a distinction in research from the College of Natural Sciences at the University of Texas.
And that's a degree in textiles and apparel design.
Well, yeah.
That's an important distinction.
3 years work in professional theater programs. Tiny yet mighty. He's 5'3".
I'm small. I've also done professional work in crafts, in theater crafts, which is mostly distressing work. So I've done this a lot. I've also done it recreationally as a hobby for 4 years because I play in a live-action role-playing game called Dystopia Rising, and that's where a lot of these pictures come from.
But it's a great environment to learn distressing. It's a post-apocalyptic environment. You have a lot of excuses to do all this wild and crazy stuff.
Yes.
But before we begin, we're going to define our terms. Take it away, Alex.
So distressing is anything made to look a costume piece look worn, aged, dirty, etc. And worn doesn't necessarily mean destroyed. It means it looks like it's not fresh clothing from the store. Breakdown, if you've ever seen, like in film credits, you see the aging, dying, or breakdown department. That is basically a film industry term for the distressing department. They do a lot of stuff to costumes. Almost any major film will have a breakdown department, even for stuff that doesn't look destroyed, because boy, you have to do a lot of things to make a costume put on film.
Yeah, so even if it doesn't look like it's been obviously damaged in any way, a costume has gone through a distressing process if you have seen it on television or film.
Yes.
Even a pristine white dress shirt has had something done to it to make it look like it's not fresh out of its package.
It's been teched, which I didn't define, but that's fine, because that's a really specific term.
Teching is, yeah.
It's dyeing down a white shirt so it doesn't look blindingly white on stage or film. Weathering is another term for distressing, aging is another term for distressing. There's a lot of similar terms. You'll hear them kind of thrown right interchangeably. Depends on who you're working for, who you're working with, and what industry you're in.
So this helps you understand that this is not necessarily something you have to do with costumes that are meant to look dirty or destroyed in some way. You can do this even with normal costumes to give them a lived-in look and feel to them.
Yes.
It's just another dynamic on top of the look.
It looks more like clothes rather than a costume.
Alright, moving on. Planning, you're distressing.
This is actually very important. You want to tell a story when you're distressing. You want to consider what your character or what design you're looking for when you start working on making your costume look destroyed and dirty. I actually brought my cloak for my competition costume today because it's very tall and I'm very short.
I'll go.
You go down in front of the stage and hold it up. The character in question is a fire mage, and his cloak is distressed. So what I did is I shredded it to make it look like it had caught on fire. I took ash powder, which not actual ash, but product by Maron, and smeared it around the edges and sealed it all to make it look like it had been burned, because it's very appropriate for the character. So when you're planning that out, you want to think about what your character's been through, what kind of environment they live in, and like consider like the powers and see what would be appropriate. And you also want to make sure your distressing makes sense, because I'm pretty sure we've all seen like those ripped jeans that have like, look at claw marks across the thighs, which that doesn't happen. Those aren't wear points in a pair of pants. And you can do that by researching. And I hate saying it, but look up pictures of homeless people, because they wear their clothes a whole lot. You're going to see where the wear points are in a lot of places, so you can figure out where, if say someone's wearing a jacket for a long time, where the wear points are going to be, or their pants. And you want to consider how different materials take wear and tear, because a natural fiber is going to take wear and tear a lot better most of the time than a synthetic. Those synthetics are getting better about that, but like a poly versus a cotton will take distressing a lot differently. You can do different stuff with synthetic materials than you can with natural fibers. Like I wanted natural fibers for this costume to be a lot more comfortable that way, but if I used synthetic, I could have literally physically burned it without worrying about it too much.
And to just give some popular examples of costumes you might apply some of this to, I hate to call you out, but Hero Academia is like the big popular thing right now. Give an example, like their school uniforms would probably be pretty clean. They'd look worn but fairly clean. But like their hero outfits or their what did they call that uniform? The gym uniform. Those would probably look a little more worn, broken down, or even damaged in some way if you want to go really extreme with it. Just because by the nature of the series, the character's powers, what they do in these outfits. Mm-hmm. So these are the kind of things you want to think about.
Also, speaking of telling a story, this cauldron is disgusting to look at. It looks like it's been through a lot. It's for my LARP main, who was a scavenger.
Trying not to cut myself on this.
It's taped up, it's fine. The license plates are a little sharp, but you can tell it looks like it's been left out. It's a piece of leather armor. It's covered in like 4 different colors of paints and sawdust, and
by the way, if you want to reach out and touch any of this stuff,
oh yeah, it feels really gross. It's sealed very well.
You're free to do so.
Yeah, it's it tells kind of a story. Yeah,
your reaction immediately was great.
It's a little upsetting to touch. It's got a really gross texture to it. I'll explain how I did that later. But it tells the story of the character and what that armor's been through. That armor looks like it's been left out for years and years and years, and it was found and scavenged and cobbled together. So yeah, as passing that around, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide, which I think is safety. Yes. Please, there's a lot of things. There are a lot of things. You don't want to be mean on the left there. I held the knife the wrong way and slipped and cut myself.
That's also not what I would call a professional knife.
Trust me, is that or an X-Acto? I can have my X-Acto. It doesn't matter if it takes up the bag right now. But respirators, you want to make sure it actually fits you, because that's actually really important to get a proper seal. I didn't actually get fit for my respirator, but I knew my size already because I've been fit previously. The best way to tell if it actually fits you is when you put it on without the filters on, and you can put your hand against here and breathe in, and it suctions to your face. That's a good fit. You also want to keep it has cartridge. My cartridges are expensive, it doesn't really matter. You want to replace them every like 40 hours of work.
Just so keep in mind what model your respirator is.
Yeah.
Not all cartridges are universal.
Yeah, like if you have a, it's a 3M brand mask, it'll fit 3M brand cartridges. 3M's a really common brand for.
Yeah, you can get 3M at pretty much any hardware store.
Yeah, like Home Depot has it.
Lowe's has it.
Lowe's has it. Yeah, I took out that because I took a class and I'm using a respirator. Dust mask, if you're doing a lot of sanding, you don't need a respirator for just sanding work, but anything that creates particles, and there's some formula later called pounce bags that contain talc, and if you don't know, talc can cause cancer in extended periods of use, so you want to wear a respirator with that. Like we had someone from Fear the Walking Dead, their breakdown department, talk to us, give us a little demonstration, and when he handled the pounce bags, he's like, yeah, I need a respirator. And you also want, like, when I say gloves, I mean like, one of the gloves is like for an offhand. This is a glove part, but like this is one of my distressing gloves. This is my right-handed glove though, because I'm left-handed. So you want a glove for your offhand when you're doing like sanding and grading work, because you will grate your fingers. Absolutely, you will grate your fingers. I've done that. You also run the risk of stabbing yourself with an X-Acto, because that's just, it happens. Trust me. And nitrile gloves for painting. Don't be mean. Be scrubbing paint off your hands hours later. And
essentially, if you're going to be coming into contact with anything that you're working on, you want to know if you need to protect yourself from it and how you should be protecting yourself from it. That includes touching or breathing near it.
Yes. There are also MSDS. Like most products, you'll find will have MSDS sheet or MSDS data available, which are material safety data sheets, which contain like what kind of, is it a skin irritant, is it a breathing hazard, etc., any kind of hazard. And you also want an apron, like a long apron generally, or clothes you don't care about. Like I have a pair of painting pants, which I unfortunately went out in the whirlwind because they have a hole in the butt. They're very old.
It's fine. We were just in public at a hardware store.
It's fine.
You were bending down to look at lower shelves. It's fine.
Yeah, and you can see me in my lovely respirator with a Dremel while I was working on actually this shirt here. And what not to use, because boy, let me tell you, I have seen some interesting things used in distressing. Don't do this. Don't use any kind of food product that isn't like stable. Like you can use tea and coffee for dyeing. Don't, and like the grounds of them for adding texture effects. Don't use flour, don't use chocolate, and please, for the love of God, do not use actual blood. I've seen people who've used like pig's blood on their costumes. Don't do that. That's a biohazard for one. For another, it's not going to stain or color the way you want it to. Also, it's gross.
It's going to oxidize.
Yeah, it's going to look...
It's not going to stay red.
Like, I actually have a blood stain on the back of one of these pieces because I cut myself.
Like the big thing about a lot of these is that this is stuff that oxidizes. It will rot while it's still on you.
Yes, and like for using... Yeah, there's a little brown stain back here that I cut my thumb on. This is really old. It's been washed like 1,000 times. But it doesn't look like the blood stains you want to look like. And also don't use actual dirt from outside. There's a product called, this really big oxymoron called clean dirt. And it's also Fuller's Earth you can use instead. Because actual dirt has a chance of carrying bacteria and microbes in it. You really don't want to risk that.
Earthworm poop.
Yeah. Nematodes, any other number of weird things you can pick up from the earth.
Stuff you don't want on your clothes.
Ringworm.
Let's
I like
dial it back a little, not scare them.
That's what I know. Scaring them is good. Please don't use real dirt.
Just don't use real dirt, you'll get sick.
And the reason you don't want to use food,
or someone else will get sick, and then you'll be liable for it.
You don't want to use food because it can attract bugs, even if you seal it in the paint. Because boy, there's still food there, and it's like, that looks delicious. Don't do it. And also, especially if you're making it for someone else, sometimes the smell will bother people. So you're having to deal with like old cocoa powder smell for years. And like, I've washed this repeatedly. I've dyed this in tea and coffee, and it still smells like coffee. And what can you use? There's a ton of products. What I have pictured there is this product called Schmear. They make a whole line of distressing products, but those are one of my favorite products to use. They're a little expensive. They're basically like wax distressing sticks. They're the best thing I've ever used for distressing shoes, because you can just rub it on and rub it off. It's a wax-based, it's basically a wax-based paint, and it's really cool. I've used it to distress like Converse, because those are really hard to get paint to stick to the rubber. And you can also use just like a ton of stuff. You want dusty looks, they make this product called Pounce Bags. I'll go into that later. Plaster powder is also another good use for that, but that's another one you want to use a respirator for, because please don't breathe in particles. When particles get into your lungs, they stay there. That's why I'm so big about safety for that. You can also use a lot of like acrylic paints. I wouldn't recommend like oil-based paints for the most part, because they're really gross to use and hard to get out. If you get them on things you don't want them on, acrylic paints you can usually scrub out. And sawdust is good for texturing. I'll go into that later too. That pauldron has sawdust mixed directly.
Yeah, the old scabby feel some of you guys touched, that's sawdust with paint.
And now we're going to go into some techniques. We're going to start with non-destructive techniques. These are few and far between. Let me warn you ahead of time.
Yeah, it's good to go ahead and get this out of the way. You can't really hit the undo button on distress.
Yeah, like it's very permanent.
By nature, this is a destructive craft. There are some things you can do that will not destroy.
Like this is faded because it's like this was when it was fresh. I whacked it with a Pounce bag. When I say a Pounce bag, it is literally a little bag of dust. It's like in a nylon. You can make your own with like nylon and powder, but I usually like to get products because I was looking for a specific color. But it's a little sack full of powder you just whack on your costume, and that's about the only way I've found to make non-destructive techniques. And I can't remember the name of the product. We had it and no one used it because no one trusted it. There were some paints that theoretically wash out that you could distress with, but it's a 50-50 chance whether or not it's actually gonna wash out or not. So, but you can see on the back, this is the same shirt, how much it's faded. It's been washed a couple times. I do know.
I'm not really gonna go around up close.
No.
I just need to hold up so you guys can
I don't
see.
think it's been washed, but you can see that the powder is not nearly as bright as it was. You can barely see it anymore.
Like compare like the nice big splotch there.
So I wanted to make it look like that had been sitting in a warehouse for a while, and it worked. And then the dust just came out of that. But anything you really don't want to dirty or mess up, you don't want to distress it. You don't want to risk things happen. Like, it's a very permanent thing.
Be aware that once you start, there's no real going back
Yeah.
on any given garment you decide to start
Yeah.
distressing.
And sanding is another technique. I don't have any pictures for this because, excuse me, it's not very interesting to look at. The Dremel tool is my favorite thing to use for distressing seams. Did my sandpaper make it in here? Yes. This is just 80 grit sandpaper I use to, actually that's exactly what I use to distress the corner of the cloak. It is, it is literally just a piece of sandpaper I took off.
You've seen it before.
I've like a Dremel with a sanding wheel is the best and easiest way to get really distressed effects, especially on heavier materials. It's really destructive on lighter weight materials, but like this vest, for example, is made of heavy denim. All the distressing on the side seams and the shoulder seams are done with a Dremel.
And mind you, there's a ton of techniques done, so I'll bring this around multiple times, but for now, we're just looking at how the seams have been distressed.
Yeah.
I'm going to be holding up
The armholes, it was all taken down with a Dremel and a standing wheel, and that's another one you really want to wear a dust mask for at the very least, because, oh boy, that kicks up a lot of dust, and I did not realize how much dust it kicked up when I started distressing the shirt, actually. So it was just like, cool, I'm covered in black powder and black fuzz, and I don't know how much this went into my lungs. Don't do that. And it's really good just for adding like general wear and tear, like making like the pants have been worn, her pants have been too. I didn't do too much with these because I like these pants.
It should also be noted that standing will loosen up garments enough that they might actually start fitting better.
Yeah, you can actually sand a pair of pants to fit better.
In fact, it used to be a little bit of like Texas homemaker knowledge to take a belt sander to a new pair of pants to work them in.
Yeah, and you can use a power sander for this. I use a mouse sander sometimes when I want to distress larger areas of my garment, or you can use a belt sander too. A belt sander will take down things very, very quickly. The tech we had for Fear the Walking Dead, we had a vintage jacket that we were using as our demo thing, and he's just like, dude, do you really want me to do this? I was like, it's already been burned, dude, just go for it. That poor jacket went through a lot for that belt sander. And wait for them to come back up front. But sanding is pretty much your bread and butter for just making things look like it's been worn and distressed. Because it's very easy that way. And paint techniques, just so you don't have to go very far with that, because that's...
Oh, wow. I mean, they also you saw the paint, right?
Yeah, you can do a lot
This isn't someone's actual blood.
No, that was all... Those were done, the two handprints were done actually with my hands. I grabbed onto it and pulled down on it while I was sitting on a mannequin. There's a bunch of airbrushing on it, all around the pockets.
Because the idea wasn't just to have a flat handprint.
No,
the idea is you're running from somebody with a bloody hand.
Yes,
so
I wanted to have it look
like that.
I wanted to have it look like something grabbed him from behind and tried to pull him down. So I grabbed onto it with my acrylic. I was wearing gloves, thankfully. My paint-covered gloves to grab on and pull. There's a lot of airbrushing effects, especially around the pockets. I used it to make it look, oh god, I just made it look filthy with an airbrush. Also, don't be afraid of an airbrush, and don't think it's too expensive to get into. My airbrush was like bottom barrel, like barely $50, and it's great. As long as you take care of it, it'll be fine. I got mine off Amazon. It's like a master something like that. You don't need a fancy airbrush to do distressing work. I was about to say, please don't put that on. I don't think it'll fit you. You're much larger than I am.
Are you trying to say I'm fat?
No.
Tiny but mighty.
But acrylic paints are really good for getting, like, especially into seams, like this armor piece here. That's like a stomach armor, I think. It was originally a thigh guard, and then something happened. I learned that thigh guards don't stay up. But I use a lot of acrylic paints. It looks like it's got like, I think it looks like it's got barf on it in one part because I use like gross watered down yellow paint. But you can really dig acrylic into the seams and things. Also really good for doing like wash coats on just like basic wash coats. I didn't bring my armor with me, unfortunately. Like,
part of it.
I didn't bring my caster armor because since it's white, it really shows. You can just dry brush it onto like an armor piece, like black, just straight black paint. You just dry brush it on an armor piece and wipe it off, and it'll start getting into the nooks and crannies. And you can do lighter colored washes. You don't want it to look as distressed. You can also do like rust effects on metal with it. You can also do everything with the acrylics, like with a brush that you can do with an airbrush too. And you can also use it to get texture, like we were talking about the pauldron. It's got sawdust mixed directly into the paint. So I just took my paints, dumped sawdust in there, mixed it up, and just pasted it on. And great and gross. You can also like mix any other kind of powder into the paint. Just weird stuff. You can do all kinds of fun stuff with paint techniques. Shredding. See that horrible thing? Look up nuclear snails, the snails tutorial on how to make that.
It looks like a torture device.
It really does. It's like a bunch of wooden mooring saws glued together. But I don't do a whole lot of shredding on things because it's very easy to go overboard.
It's difficult to control. You can actually ruin what you're working on.
Absolutely. I have ruined a piece.
Because it's very easy to go too far with it.
Yeah, I have ruined a piece by shredding it. You have to be very sparing with what you do. Because that one I just used, I believe I used an X-Acto blade to start cutting through. I just took a sharp knife, or it was either a sharp knife or a pair of scissors, just kind of stab and tear. And it's really the best thing if you want a lot of extreme texture. Like nuclear snail, like I said, is really good for showing what you can get with shredding. You can like completely destroy a pair of pants, and it's basically held together by just a few threads of fiber.
Their videos are also fun to watch.
Oh yeah, they really are. He's great. I'm not afraid to say I learned things from him. But yeah, you really want to be really careful with it. You can also use one of my favorite things, a cheese grater. I will demonstrate how to use this.
Yeah, that's going to be part of our demo.
Yes. You can also use the actual like block graters. I use those. I just had a flat one I wanted to bring along because it's flat and easier to travel with. And knives you can use for shredding because a lot of the tears on that vest, I think it is. It's a
something.
Vest. It's a bunch of
worn
jeans.
as a vest. I don't know if I call it as a vest.
It's a bunch of jeans I put together and made into a vest. Yeah, I use mostly a knife and sandpaper to get the effects on the shredding for that. Dyeing is one of my favorite things in the world. Yes, and by the way, dyeing has an E in it. Don't spell it without the E. You'll get very different results. And this is good.
Yeah, nobody's ever made that joke before.
Authentic though.
Believe me,
I'm kidding.
Hold on. My professor said. Here's one thing my professor said. He was talking about this was in my millinery class, and he was like, "Oh yeah, the student he died, and then he paused, and we're all like, this hat, and we're just like, you can't just stop there." Like he forgot what he was saying in the middle of the sentence, just paused, and we're just like,
He was dying. The hat.
But yeah, dye techniques are great. This is actually a head wrap. It's had like 3 or 4 different dye processes done to it. It's mottled and gross, and this piece was also dyed. This was originally a white bed sheet, and I dyed it red, and I think I did a black wash over top of it too.
What color was this originally?
A light cream yellow.
Yeah, it was like
a very pale yellow. I think of a daffodil.
not unlike the color of that gentleman's shirt, actually. Just a little yellower.
Yeah, it was like
If you want an idea of what this used to look like.
Yeah, it was like the back of the sandpaper was about the color. It had like I think I did the green first and then the brown, but I tie-dyed it and then...
Is this another thing where we're going to talk up Dharma real heavily and not get paid to do so?
Actually, I use mostly RIT dyes for distressing work because they're cheap, but also Dharma trading if you need actual dyes. I love Dharma trading. DharmaTrading.com is DHARMA trading.com.
Boy, I sure wish they'd give us a paycheck.
I've got, they have tutorials, techniques, and lots of other things. Like anything you would ever want to know about dyeing, they will tell you. It's a very permanent effect too, so if you want like, someone used it to great effect in one of my classes to mimic mud on a pair of pants. So they dyed like the bottom part of his jeans and make it look like they've been muddy and gross. And it's not gonna flake off and it's not gonna create a problem because it's permanently dyed into the fabric. And you can wash it over and over again and not worry about the effect fading. It's really great when you want something you can actually wash. Do I have anything else I can dye up here? Yes. You can also use it for texture effects. This is a scarf I dyed.
What was its original color?
It was white. It was supposed to come out black, but this is the problem. This is also something you have to keep in mind with dyes, especially black dyes. They have different...
There's no such thing as a true black.
It depends on the base of the color. Because the fabric is so sheer, it came out green.
If you're an artist, you already know this.
Yeah,
black is a system of pigmentation. It is nothing.
Black is either, it'll be green, blue, or purple based, and you'll have some fun figuring out which is which when your dye comes out a weird color.
Wash out a black Sharpie sometime and we'll see what we need.
Yeah, or this is why I don't recommend using bleach on anything because especially black dyes will come out really weird. But I got the texture with a shibori technique, which wrapping it around a pole and just scrunching it really tightly. If you wash it, the texture's gonna fall out, so that's when you don't really want to wash per se. You just want to like spray it down with some vodka and let it cool and let it dry out.
Shibori is where we get tie-dye from.
But the most basic one you can do is coffee or tea dye, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You brew up a bunch of coffee or some tea, and you dunk your stuff in it and let it sit. You can sit for however long you want. You can dye anything that's natural with it. If it's polyester, you cannot use tea dye or coffee dye because the fibers won't take it. Yada yada yada, dye chemistry. I can go a lot into dye chemistry, and that's boring.
Oh, we only have an hour.
We only have an hour, and that's boring. I'm very sorry.
Hey, if you're ever super interested in it, contact this
guy.
He will talk your ear off about dyeing for days.
I sure will, because that cloak is dyed too. The third final dye process on this one was chunking it in some coffee with the grounds still in it. Because if you leave the grounds in, it'll leave like a little mottled texture across your fabric. This has been washed so many times it's kind of fallen out. But when it's fresh,
I remember the speckles.
Yeah, I look at like a bunch of speckles because it'll sit directly on the fabric and dye those spots directly. And it's really good for giving a nice aged appearance to, like even like a white shirt. Like say you have a pure white shirt, you don't want it to be pure white anymore. Throw it in a light wash of tea, and it'll stain it down to like an off-white color, and it's really good. It's really good for that. That's my favorite thing to do for that.
It's really good for giving white cottons a linen look.
Yeah, or just like making it look like your shirt's not fresh and brand new. And you can also use an over-dye effect, which is what this was and what this was. I unfortunately forgot my coat. You can also use it to calm down bright patterns, like bright prints. I had a print that was this awful, ugly yellow, orange, and pink.
Paisley.
It was yellow, orange, and pink paisley, and I threw it in a wash.
Imagine your grandmother's dining cloth, like.
Except brighter.
Not your nice grandma. You know, the one that's kind of.
It was horrible. It was really ugly fabric.
It still has like plush carpet.
So you use a chocolate.
Yeah. Okay, you get what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So I chunked that in like an overdye of black, and the pattern stayed, which was fine. The pattern was what I wanted. The color was not what I wanted, so it toned it down to a nice black and not. Actually, let me see if that picture shows.
Actually, I just realized the carpet we're standing on is a good example of how loud that fabric was.
Yeah. Can you see the lining in that? Nope, never mind. I couldn't remember if you can see the lining in the coat in that picture. Oh, and our etc. section. This is the fun one. This is everything else. I forgot to put that picture in, and now I'm sad.
What picture?
The waiting picture.
Oh, the thing with
The stones in the pocket?
stones in the pockets? Well, I mean, you all don't need a picture to know what stones in the pockets.
Yeah. It's like a really good like especially with coats and things, and like I did it with that vest, the punk rock vest. The pockets, I stuffed the big pockets full of stones. I had a bunch of gravel, I put them in bags and like sprayed.
Just think about it. What do y'all do with your pockets?
Put your hands in them.
Put your hands in them. You put your wallet. You put stuff in them, and that stuff eventually shapes the pocket.
Yeah, it'll stretch out your pockets and so this was a technique used in film. This is a technique used in film a lot when you want to make a coat look like the character's been wearing it for a little while, like it's their coat. You just wet down your garment if you can wet it. If you can't, just leave it dry. You just put heavy weights in the pockets and just let it sit. Just hang it. Like I hung mine in my closet. You might want to make sure that it will hold up if the stones aren't too heavy. Just rocks.
I have a better hanger.
Yeah, that poor hanger.
We can't use it for anything anymore.
And you just leave it to sit for days. It just adds a really nice kind of lived-in look.
Yeah, you see like it's swollen there.
You can also do
See,
the pants.
It's just not.
Pants, coats, and vests are really good to use that on. It's like especially pants because when you have brand new jeans, the pockets really conform to you instead of being like look like you shove your hands in them. And this is stuff you could use on like bought costumes too, especially the washing. Like when I say washing technique, I mean literally it's just washing things. The first thing that's done to any costume piece when it gets to a film set is it gets thrown in the wash. And if you don't like your washing machine, or you have a washing machine you can potentially destroy, you can actually throw rocks in with it to make it look really worn. But you have to really not like that washing machine.
Oh yeah, you're gonna mess it up. It's never gonna be the same. And it's going to sound like holy hell.
Oh yeah. I imagine you can set up your own tumbler too, with basically make a rock tumbler for your clothes. I haven't done it, but I imagine you can.
I've seen people do it with like the big like utility buckets you
Yeah.
get at Home Depot.
Yeah. Now you really want to make something look like it's been lived in, not even necessarily worn, wash it. And there's also another technique I forgot about. You rub Vaseline on like lapel or collar edges, and then you can rub a little bit of grime in on it. You can also do it in like if you want to make a shirt, for example, like a dress shirt, make it look like it has like a sweat ring around the collar. You can do that too. It sounds gross, but it's actually really good for making something look like it's been lived in. Yeah, just a little bit of Vaseline around collar edges and where it's gonna sit on top of something. You can make a little dark line. The paint will stick better, and it'll just give a little more depth to your outfit. And if you want to remove like finish from leather, because distressing leather can be a panel in and of itself.
That could just a whole other hour on its own.
Yeah, but if you get a leather jacket, you want to take the shine off and take rubbing alcohol and just rub it all over. It'll dry out.
Because that shine is usually a chemical finish on the leather
Mhm.
itself, and alcohol is gonna kill it.
There's also something if you really, really want that finish gone. Angela's Leather makes a product called Finish Remover, and it will absolutely remove the finish off a leather. I use that to remove the finish off a pair of Doc Martens so I can dye them. Oh, and it does horrible things to the leather. You'll want to recondition it later. You can also you can use rubbing alcohol on vinyl. It takes them to shine down too. But be careful of what you use on vinyl. For example, acetone will absolutely dissolve vinyl. Do not get acetone on vinyl.
So rubbing alcohol, not
Yes.
acetone. And I know a lot of bot costumes use vinyl as the trim, and this will make it a lot less shiny and noticeable.
Yeah. And you can also sun bleach things, and it's literally what it sounds like. I made a Ellis from Left 4 Dead 2, and for his t-shirt, I just left it in my yard during the summer and turned it over every couple days. It got some weird grasshopper poop on it.
Yeah, you're gonna want to wash it afterwards.
Yeah. It got some
Good Lord, who knows what's touched
It
it?
had some unusual stains on it after that. And I was like, I just left this in the yard. I'm concerned. There's also like 1,000 other things you can do. You can literally run over a costume. You can like drive over it if you really want it gone.
Just make sure to wash it first to get that dirt off.
Yeah, depending.
Or after, wash it after.
Yeah, wash it after. Wash it before. What are you gonna do?
I don't know. I'm tired. I had Bordeaux last night. That's my excuse.
It's 10:30 in the morning. It's too
Shut
early.
up. I'm sorry. Anyways.
Wow, you can do any, like, if you don't want to use sandpaper, you can step on your costume and grind it into concrete. I did that for a pair of gloves for a homeless look we were doing.
Yeah.
Boy, I've done a lot of stuff over the years.
You want to move on to the demo?
Let's send the demo. Well, we're gonna,
All right.
We'll get to the Q&A later, but
We'll get to the Q&A later, but that
Where's
is our
our
contact
Fesco?
information up there too.
I need the demo list.
But what we're going to do, we're going to do a live demonstration of some distressing techniques. So I want everybody to move
Give me the
in
demo
nice
list.
and close. Alex, you just want to come out in front of me?
yeah. So this poor thing has already been worked on a lot. This is my baby, but it doesn't have a lot of paint techniques on it because I didn't want it. But the character's dead, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the mics are still on, so be careful.
Where'd my dwarf go?
Just make the grinding sounds on the mic.
Yeah.
It's ASMR.
There we go. So the back is actually fairly undistressed, except for this like couple slash marks here, which you'll never ever see because I wear armor over top of this. But I'm just gonna pick a hole.
If y'all want to stand up and actually look at what he's doing, you can.
Literally, I just stabbed it in and tore it down. So we have a nice hole here. And now to make that hole look better, and this is exactly why we want to wear a glove on our offhand, because I have sanded my finger before. I know it looks like something went through that hole. What else can I do?
The grater.
The grater.
It's time to shred.
My favorite. This is the part you really want to use, this little tight hole down here. This is especially good for like satin fabrics, which I don't use a lot, but. See how nice and fuzzed up that already is? And you can also take it on like the big back seam here, which this is a jean seam that I did not sew. And you just tear into it.
But if you are doing this on a seam you sewed, you want to make very sure that that seam is very
Yes.
well done first.
Like this is still the stitched in seam, and especially if you distress over top of seams, you'll want to go back in and restitch your seams when you're done. I had to do that for what's left of the hem on this cloak because oops. That's just part of what happens. But yeah, you can just take this grater and just drag it across parts. It'll snag, it'll cause little rips and tears. I'm actually curious if the rest of the grater will actually pull the texture or not. No, you really want to use the tighter holes. Don't take that out of context.
Oh god, it's all
kinda
like
goes
just
outside.
panel.
Yeah. So you just use it and tear it. And paint. I'm not using the ash powder. The ash powder will get everywhere. No, we're not using the ash powder.
Yeah, we don't want the hotel, the convention center to get mad
Yeah.
at us.
Like, I'm not even going to take... where are the tissues?
Did you bring the tissues?
Yes, I did. There they are.
I was getting real.
Okay, we're not going to play that game. We're not going to play the squeeze it onto the brush thing, because that'll get on the table. Absolutely.
That could catch a bottle.
Yeah. So we're going to make the seam look a little gross. Might be a lot of gross, because this paint's a little heavier than what I like to use.
Also just bouncing around on the fabric.
Whatever, it's fine. Yeah, it's a little more extreme than I wanted, but I don't quite have a paper towel, which will really help take it off. That's something I recommend airbrushing, just because you can control it a little better with an airbrush. Yeah, it's a little messy on there just because of the fact the paint was so heavy, but it's already kind of looking a little better-ish. And then you can, if you really don't like what you did, you can kind of just grind over top of it.
This is like your filters in Photoshop. Put some sepia tone on.
Roofing shingles will do that just as easily right there too.
Yeah.
Hey, if you've got some laying around.
Yep.
Hey, go. I mean, hey, we're in town during rainy season. You can pick them up anywhere else.
That is true. And you can also go a little bit lighter, which is probably what I should have done instead of just smearing that paint on there, but shh. I'm a professional, I tell myself.
Oh, he got you something that might work better.
Larry, thank you. That is a little bit more durable than a tissue. And you can spend just hours doing this. Yeah, the lighter wash is a better idea. It looks a little less ridiculous now.
I was drinking that water.
You can still drink it, it's just got a paper towel in it.
Still good.
It's a clean paper towel.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that to the test. There was no paint on it.
No, that was, like I said, it was a clean paper towel. It's not like the cat drinking my
And even if there was, it's just acrylic paint. It's not toxic. I live, I die, I live again.
Incarnation, baby.
Yes, come in, sit down, I'm painting.
It's Sydney and Ed.
Oh, okay. It's people we know. They're not important.
Oh, come on.
Love you.
And when you insult them, they just mean that much more.
They know I care.
Didn't do this because it was wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just gonna go call that a heavier wear spot, because that's about where my, no, that's not actually, I was like, I'm gonna lie and say it's about where my butt is, and no, it's about where my armor ends, it's fine.
Maybe your armor rubs off on it.
Yeah, let's go
You
with
can come
that.
up with a story for anything. Everyone, this is Alyssa, by the way, Baby Blue Friday. She's another member of our group.
I was helping a Monster Hunter cosplayer get their props checked.
Hooray! Okay, let's reopen this paint bottle because I ran out of paint on my brush. It's also why you use a glove you don't really care about. The character's dead, so it doesn't matter what happens to this glove. Sorry, Coyote.
What glove are you using?
This is a driving glove I had. I usually use. I would recommend a leather work glove on your offhand, especially when using knives.
Yeah, this was more of a situation of it's what we had
Yeah.
rather than what we would prefer.
And for painting, I would use a nitrile glove because I'm gonna end up with paint on my hands because I don't have a glove. And it's just acrylic paint, so it'll come out, but it's still really annoying. Like, for example, I was still washing paint off of my arm yesterday, even though I took a shower.
From working on Castor.
Yeah, from working on that blue costume. This is just giving this a little more of a lived-in look. Because I've worn this a lot, and it's been washed a lot. I'm sorry for my washing machine for those bottle caps. And a lot of this is not very interesting to look at. Because you're just sitting here.
I don't know, the audience seems really engaged.
Just sitting here, making happy little stains.
Like they're all staring at you, brother.
That's fine. Yeah, happy little stains.
See your little bottle cap there?
Clearly that should be our new SoCost project. Distressing videos.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
With Xander.
Yeah, we
We're
could-
gonna make a happy little stain.
Happy little stain right here.
We could Bob Ross some distressing.
I mean, you don't want to hear
Bob
the...
Ross would be a monster distresser.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you don't want to hear the Dremel in the background, but...
I mean, he had a military background, didn't he? So
Yes,
he
he
knows
did.
what this stuff looks like.
Or, you know, tumbling rocks in a washing
Yeah.
machine.
We're
Clang.
gonna recreate what a bullet hole looks like.
I mean, there's an easy way to go about it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can. You can actually...
Especially
I mean,
in
you can
Texas.
literally shoot your costume if that's what it comes down
If that's
to.
what you
We're
want.
in Texas. That's not hard to do. You just go down to the range and be like, hey, can I hang this up on the target? And they're like, I don't know why you would, but okay.
No, send it down.
Yep.
Why are you making it like that? Because it's funner this way.
Yeah.
It's my exes, don't worry about it. I got you.
This one's already been... That's actually a stain from my armor. That's new. All kinds of things happen when you actually play outside. That's a strange new stain. Okay. When you don't mind it, though. Like, oh man, that seam's going apart. But like I said, the character's dead. It doesn't matter.
You could always reinforce it later.
I'm going to. But like
you're not. You may have retired the character, but don't retire all this work.
Oh god, no. I spent 4 years building this costume. We're not going to say goodbye to all that hard work. There's some more scenes.
Belongs in a museum.
It was in a museum. A museum.
God, it was in the museum. Yeah, this costume that this was all a part of. Not the punk rock fest, but most of the parts you've looked at. If you were at A-Kon this year and ever went to the cosplay museum, you saw this on display.
Which I had never seen it off of myself before, so it was wild to see how much of a light suck this costume actually is.
Well, that's what most cosplayers say about stuff they display in the museum. Is
Yeah.
I've never seen this not on me.
Yeah, it's like, this is wild, so this is what everyone else sees.
Did you feel like it was cheating on you a little bit?
I was just like, I'm impressed. Please, someone else wear this.
It helps give you a
Okay.
nice scope of the
Yeah,
work.
you don't want to wear it. It's hot. It's like
No, I do want to wear it.
It's like 8 fucking
Think
layers.
about it.
Yeah, that's true.
I have the body temperature of a reptile.
That is true. See, all I'm doing right now is just dirting around the pocket area because that's going to get a lot of wear. And this pocket has actually been reused a lot, so you can kind of see it's actually still worn.
Yeah.
I didn't weigh it down.
I can see Ed being less scary. They're
Yeah.
very polite, less scary. You know, they apologize for the cannibalism. They're still going to eat people, but you know, they're polite.
I'm
about it.
sorry,
Kind
but
of
I'm
like your status almost.
sorry, but I'm hungry.
Dignified.
I'm hungry and you're weak. Therefore, you're food.
It's nothing personal.
It's just like, at least I'm wearing a bib.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm wearing a bib and using utensils.
Like, after you're dead, you're just meat anyway. At least I'm doing something useful with it.
Instead of putting it.
Like, what would you rather be eaten by, me or bugs?
Sticks with one, half dozen the other.
This has had some paint distressing on it, but not a lot. As you can kind of see where the cutoff is there. There's a nice demarcation line. Whoops, that's what happens when you spray paint things. But it doesn't matter because no one ever saw this part of the costume anyway. Don't be me.
But if you're doing it for the sake of competing, distressing those areas that are still covered up by another
It's very
piece
important.
will get you extra points with judges.
Yes. Like, I'm going to just distress that inner pocket because it's bothering me now. There's not going to be a whole lot of wear on it because if you've ever seen... Boy, it's a trip to take apart a pair of jeans. Yeah, a lot of this is paint techniques because I've already physically distressed this costume a lot. So I just want to really pick, like, wear spots. Like, if these are from an old pair of jeans, you really want to pick, like... Because your belt loops get really nasty for some reason. Because you're shoving a belt in them constantly most of the time.
They're also one of the first things that get exposed to sweat.
That is true.
Your entire belt line in your pants will get exposed to sweat on a regular basis.
And let's do this upper pocket too. These pockets literally never saw the light of day because my armor comes down to about here, and these pockets are up here. As I'm realizing, I'm demonstrating that with my back. It's fine.
Armor comes down to like here.
Yeah. It's like mid-torso, and most of the pockets are up on my upper shoulder.
It's the armor. No, wait, that's not the armor you're wearing in that picture.
That is not. That's my tire armor.
Yeah, he made that for tires.
ATV tires, not. Don't. If you're using tires to build anything, by the way, don't use metal treaded tires. It's a real pain in the ass to cut through the tread.
And dangerous.
It's a pain in a lot of things.
Yeah, it's really horrible to cut through the treads. It'll cause a lot of sparks. It'll cause a lot of sparks and a lot of smoke, and you don't want a tire fire on your hands. That's not a joke. Tire fires are notoriously hard to put out. There are some, like, if you want a really fun list on Wikipedia, look up a list of tire fires that are still burning. There's one.
That's a list on Wikipedia.
I'm
yet
not.
Somehow not surprised.
Yes. I found it on accident. I don't even remember what I was looking up, and I was like, huh, that's a list of tire fires.
While he's doing that,
If anyone has any questions,
we
I
can
can.
field some questions. Does anybody have any questions that's been burning in
I'm-
their hot little minds?
I'm good at multitasking.
I don't know.
Any like particular distressing techniques you want to know
Yes,
about, or
Just a minor one. I don't know that it qualifies as distressing, but you can simulate distressing. Put
Oh, with
something
patch
on
work.
top of a thing, and you're like, yeah, it's damaged.
Oh, yeah.
See, there's a patch on it.
oh yeah, I've actually got that.
Have nothing under it.
There's a T-shirt.
Oh, the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Has
The striped shirt.
the striped shirt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Great way to make it look like garbage without actually damaging.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got
So,
some
like, we
of
got-
that on there.
Yeah, we got like little blue patches on that one.
And those can always be taken out.
Yep.
So yes, that is another example of a non-destructive distressing
Yes.
technique.
I wanted to ask about trying to dye elastic.
You can.
You can.
Yes.
You have to use a very specific.
Well,
type
you just have to
of
use,
dye.
make sure it's cotton. Cotton elastic.
I don't know what you bought, but when we dyed it, when it stretched out, it became white. Like the long threads didn't take the
Yeah.
dye.
Oh, that'll happen because of the way elastic is. You can't. It probably won't. You can also paint elastic.
And honestly, painting it while it stretches is going to be your best bet in that case because you don't want to leave it stretch in the dye process. Because
Yeah.
Then it'll just.
You'll lose all the
its
elasticity. You'll lose the point of the elastic.
So you could use a combination.
Yeah, you
if
can dye the
you're-
base and then paint. When you stretch, you can paint that. Because we did that. We did that in the costume shop a lot at UT for dance shoes. We would dye the elastic, and then we would paint over it.
Any other questions? All right. Yes.
I've done a little bit of distress
Mm-hmm.
in community theater.
Mm-hmm.
When you do the edges, you slit down the edges like that,
Mhm.
I always feel like that it still looks too nude.
Yeah, you can.
It
The
can.
edges are squared off.
Yeah.
There's a few things you can do to mitigate that, and a lot of it comes down to.
What I usually do is like I'll sand the fresh cut on it.
Yeah, the cheese grater looked really good.
Yeah, you can
I don't know
choose-
if you could do that.
Yeah, you can. You can. What you can do is you can start it with a knife and then just cut that and then use the grater around it, around the edges to soften it up some.
Another example is, and this is before you've done any dye bath, like you want to do the shredding before you put it through the dye bath, because that way your
Yes.
shredded edges will get the same dye
Let me
and
actually.
color appropriately for it. So it'll look like an older. Are you okay, Alex?
He
Thank
dropped
you.
the paintbrush.
Yeah, it just went down. I was like,
Mister, I'm not using the ash powder because it's going to make a mess.
I've only gotten one. I've gotten paint on this tablecloth, but.
Nobody saw that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do.
I've got a question about distressing metal, say specifically for like armor for the SCA. For obvious reasons, you're not going to be able to necessarily have just a cosmetic use for that because you're probably going to go out there and get hit with
Yeah.
Yeah.
stick. So are there techniques to force oxidization, verdigris, that kind of thing on your bronze rivets, your metal pieces, stuff like that?
You can actually. There are. I wouldn't actually recommend. I know how to rust metal. Like you can use.
But he doesn't want to actually
Yes,
rust the metal.
I would.
He doesn't want it to lose
I would
its
use
strength.
paint techniques to
Paint
make
and
it.
sawdust
To imitate it.
can imitate rust marks very easily.
You can also just use. God, there's a lot of like. You can make metal look rusty without actually rusting it. There's actually like. You can use like iron oxide paint.
Which is gonna
They,
give you perfect
they make
color.
like iron oxide powder. You can mix it into paint,
Yeah.
and it'll be permanent once you seal it.
And this way you're just putting rust coating on the armor.
Yeah, without actually
the armor
damaging
to
it.
You don't
rust.
want to challenge the structure of it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I completely understand.
Because yeah, like armor will naturally rust around the joints and generally in speckles along the top because that's where any moisture is generally going to gather. So yes, those are like just
Yeah,
your iron
you-
oxide paint to sort of flick it along the edges and
Like a
then
toothbrush.
brush it
Yeah.
along the
And you can-
joints and it'll start to look real.
And you can
good
use like a
real quick.
fine. You can use like a fine paintbrush or a toothbrush to dig it in around rivets and things like that to really give it a look. That's the best way I can describe it. Is a look.
It's a look, but it's hopefully the look you're going for too.
Okay, we got 10 minutes. Is there anything else I want to ruin on this?
No, I think you're done. Because you don't want to use the ash powder.
No, I don't want to use the ash powder. It's so messy. Like I had to scrub my deck down when I was done with it. Deck.
Deck with an E.
Actually, I'm gonna make these a little dirtier because boy, these things have been through a lot. I'm surprised these have held on as well as they have.
Well, there were good blue jeans.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 pairs of blue jeans I used
One
because.
of those used to be mine.
Yes, it did. This is from yours, and the back panel
Yeah,
is from
those
yours.
ones with the, like the Union Jack pattern on the pockets.
Yeah. Which cool. I want to make that new.
I had
We're
those
doing
before I
my
even met
outfit
you.
next, and I saved some of my work jeans that I wore out.
Awesome. Because I love building stuff like this.
I know.
Denim is such an excellent fabric for this kind of work. by
Yes,
the way.
denim's very durable, so you can do a lot to it without actually risking destruction. Like, I actually kind of want to toss this one in the tea bath, because I haven't yet.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because, boy, the fun fact about denim and the way it's woven, the cross threads are all white, so that's why it fuzzes out like that when you cut it, because it adds texture and dimension.
Let me fall asleep.
Okay. Let me take a
They're
look.
over there trying to make
And also, when
adjustments,
you do your work, you want to step back after a little bit, like spend like 10 minutes doing your work, step back, take a look, and make sure you haven't gone too far, because you can add more. It's hard to take back.
You can get lost in the process.
Yes. So, it's just a little bit more paint on it, but it adds a little more dimension. You can see around the pockets look a little more worn in, a little more weathered, a little more better, I guess. The back seam looks a lot dirtier, a lot nastier. There's some more cuts in the bottom. And the shoulder seams also just look like there's been crap sitting on top of them for a
Make
while.
sure to show it to the people on this side of YouTube. So yeah, that was our live demonstration.
So just add a little more life. A little more life.
I went to paint with
Well, Bob. It wants to be part of my.
It wants to join the floor.
Yes, it wants to be one with the floor.
And no one asked this, but it came to my mind while I was
What?
watching you. For aging foam or thermoplastic designed armors.
That's just mostly paint washes.
It is mostly paint washes, but what would you specifically do, Alex?
Dry brush black acrylic or.
Turn around and say that.
So basically, you want to
I'm
make a
leading you.
base color that you're gonna want to be what shows through when you
Yes.
distress it.
Like
So if you're using a silver, a lot of people use black because of the way the tarnish would
Yes.
look. If bronze, you usually want to do like a brown.
or green. Even
Ooh,
like
yeah.
that's like patina.
oxide, yeah.
All else fails, give it a little bit of the old rub and buff.
Yeah, rub and buff is great, but I usually use black acrylic washes. And you can use for highlights and lowlights on it. You want to take your base paint color. Like if you're using like silver armor, take like a dark and a lighter gray. You can highlight and lowlight your armor with. I'm really sad I don't have pictures of white I did for Galactic Orphans. I did a bright silver armor, and in order to do it for stage, you have to really exaggerate things for stage. So there's like bright white highlights on it and dark like black lowlights on it. So like there was a diamond shaped piece that had bright white highlights that looked ridiculous in person. When you see it on stage, it looks like
Perfect.
it's clean.
Anything that's designed for stage looks ridiculous.
Yes, it absolutely does.
Including makeup.
Like how many
Yes.
people here are theater people? Y'all know.
in the
Y'all know.
past.
Okay, yeah, I think I'm done. Unless anyone has any more questions, comments.
We've got
Seven?
time for more questions.
A few more
It's 10:53. We got 7 minutes.
Matt, even
Anything
if
you
it's
can
not
think
a
of.
distressing question.
Yeah, we have.
Even
At
if
this
it's not a
point.
distressing question, we'll take it. We're down for questions.
Oh, you can also use spray paints. I use spray paints on things like this, like all the bottle caps. Yeah, but what are these? Oh my god, all the bottle caps are spray painted.
They don't look much of anything anymore.
No, they don't. Yeah, need some more spray painted pieces.
And the thermoplastics, once you get your layers like that, probably the best way of trying to actually damage it, get layers to show through, is put the frisbee on dry.
Yeah.
Low impact
And
something.
if you really want, like before you paint it, you can also do you can carve lines into it, cuts
you
and
can.
things like that.
It's particularly
Oh, I forgot to.
if
this is
your
for tea
top
today.
layer is a foam layer, you can bevel it very easily.
Oh yeah.
That's something I wish a lot of people would keep in mind for their EVA builds. Is EVA takes the beveling
It takes damage
very, very easily. It'll remember that shape. And
Um,
especially if you seal over it afterwards,
It's
there
fine.
you've got a nice.
You can
awesome
also
scar.
dye yarn. It's just tea dye. This
You
was
just
original.
want to make sure it's cotton yarn.
Yes, cotton or nylon or wool.
Yeah.
Any natural fiber.
No acrylic.
No acrylic. Acrylic will not dye. Nylon will. Like you can tea dye nylon too. Nylon is a special case for synthetic fibers. So is rayon. Rayon you can also dye because it's cellulose-based fiber. I know a lot of things. This was a cotton nylon yarn. Ooh, there's a makeup stain on the inside of that. I was like, what is that?
We're professionals.
I pulled this over my face, and I think I had blood on my head for Coyote or something. But yeah, I tea-dyed over top of that, and just to tone it down some because the white in this was very, very bright.
This is also just looks like an octopus when it's not on the person. These were also, these looked like an Easter egg before I dyed them. These were like a light gray and a blue. So I just tossed them with like a green over-dye bath, and they took the dye differently, and I paint distressed it afterwards. Are you putting in a...
So I forgot to put Alex's actual direct
Yes.
contact info
That's
on
my
the
Twitter.
contact info page. So if you ever want to speak to Dirk Blitzkrieg specifically, and not just send a message to the whole SoCos group about anything related to distressing, dyeing
You
works,
can DM me on...
or just picking his brain about anything cosplay related, you can DM him on Twitter at VladolfSickle.
_
Yes.
And
I put
I'm
the
also
underscore.
I'm also on Instagram. Dirk Blitzkrieg. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we only just recently got on Instagram.
Oh, this was
so-
also all the spray effect, all the paint effects on this one were also spray painted. This poor, except for the rust. The rust is real. The rust came from the bottle caps. All right,
Think we wrap it up?
Yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you
Okay,
guys so much
so there's
for
all of
coming
our
in.
contact
10 a.m.
info
on a
there.
Saturday morning.
We're on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are now on Instagram, we're still getting used to it, bear with us. We
don't know what
also
we'll do
have an account on Ko-fi.com if you wish to make donations. We love having donations for doing panels like this, as well as the Cosplay Museum.
It's obviously not required.
Alex can be contacted directly on Twitter at VladolfSickle and on Instagram at Dirk Blitzkrieg. And if you all would like to see more cool costume related stuff,
back of these.
Alex,
Sorry.
I'm trying to wrap it up.
I'm
He's
finding-
just so excited
I'm
about his
finding,
own detail
I'm
work.
finding new things about these pants because
You did it!
I know. That's the problem.
This is what happens when you've been making stuff for so long.
Living with ADD too.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you guys want to see more cool costume stuff, we have the Cosplay Museum set up at San
Yes,
Japan.
we do.
We're all the way down the hallway in room 218. We have some great exhibits for y'all to look at. Please stop by. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. We will be in the cosplay show, or at least he will.
You
So,
will be too.
kind
You're
of.
my stage prop.
I'm kind of in there. See you all later.
Thank you so much.